The hair-raising world of cults has often been shrouded in mystery, invoking a sense of fear and curiosity. This video brings to light 3 chilling tales from this obscure world that are as terrifying as they are true. These stories will push the boundaries of reality, transporting you into chilling narratives that have occurred in the real world. Brace yourself as we take the journey into the uncharted territory of real-life horror cult stories. Number 1. Beneath the Robes of the Child Harvest. In a small, nondescript town nestled within the gray arms of the Appalachian Mountains, a sinister legend shrouded in centuries-old rumors took root. Whispered warnings about a disturbing congregation spoken only within hushed voices filled the air of the remote hamlet, casting ominous shadows over its tightly knit community. This dreaded cult, shrouded in mystery, was rumored to engage in macabre rituals under the deceptive guise of harmless community building activities. They were known only as the Child Harvest. Fervent whispers told tales of children mysteriously vanishing every few years, their young, innocent faces fading away from the townsfolk's memory with the passage of time. The only remnants of these unfortunate souls were the garments they religiously wore, simple homespun robes spotted with a chilling insignia. To the untrained eye, the emblem resembled a wheat sheaf and a crescent moon dancing around a central figure that bore uncanny resemblance to a weeping child. Mothers would softly murmur chilling bedtime stories, further feeding the undying fear of the child harvest. It was said that the cult possessed an eerie ability to conceal their activities behind a veil of normality, its members hiding in plain sight. They were your neighbor, your grocer maybe, or the helpful old man delivering mail, their sinister deeds hidden beneath their routine habits and wholesome facades. As the legend of the child harvest grew, so did the palpable fear within the unsuspecting townsfolk. Curiosity turned bitter, gnawing its way into the hearts of the brave, luring them toward the dangerous path of uncovering the grim secrets concealed by the cult. Many would venture into that darkness, lured by the promise of unmasking the truth, their spirits eerily diminished as the reality of the cult's horrifying practices stunned them into silence. What awaited them beneath those innocent-looking robes of the child harvest was bone-chilling. The cult, in its merciless grasp over the children, erased their identities, their past, and their future, leaving behind empty shells of humanity. Their semi-conscious states reflected the horrifying reality of their fate. The condition of these children was enough to instill a bone-deep fear in the hearts of those courageous enough to attempt revealing the truth. Thus, the legacy of the child harvest took deeper root within the small town's folklore, its existence a haunting reminder of the lurking darkness within the mundane routine of life. Even though no evidence of the cult's existence was ever found, their presence seemed to loom within the town, casting an eerie uncertainty that chilled the bones of every resident. Their story served as a chilling warning to the outsiders, a sinister reminder of the horrors that could hide beneath the innocent exterior of the most unassuming communities. Number 2. Dreams woven from the Unseen Sacrament. As darkness fell over Freiburg, a small coastal town known predominantly for its solitude, an eerie hush settled. Unseen by the frenzied nightlife, a clandestine gathering was taking place. It was in the church's forgotten cellar, its stone walls soaked with the odor of dampened celibacy, where the avid members of the sacrament would gather. Their folly was hidden from prying eyes, concealed beneath the shroud of a seemingly innocuous Bible study group. There, they twisted the Word of God, perverted it to suit their uncontrollable hunger for dominion. Their leader, Reverend Macklin, was a man of daunting stature with an aura of malevolent grace. His eyes were an icy blue, deceivingly tranquil, belying the eldritch evil lurking within. He promised his followers heavenly rewards for their sacrifices. Their acts were cryptically described as dreams woven from the unseen sacrament. The chosen ones were lured under the false pretense of spiritual enlightenment. Once within the confines of the sanctum, They were subjected to unspeakable horror, their life force slowly diluted for the group's collective power. It was common knowledge that after spending the night in the cellar, the chosen ones seemed distant, their vivacity shadowed by a vacant gaze. Innocents they were, plucked from suburban simplicity, their dreams twisted into nightmares. Yet nobody dared question the events within the forsaken cellar for fear of retaliation or worse, being chosen as the next sacrifice. One chilling winter night, though, as moonlight danced warily on the frost-riddled town, something odd happened. A young orphan, Amelia, having no family to question her absence, was chosen as the evening sacrifice. As expected, she entered the cellar with hope twinkling in her eyes, only to re-emerge the next day, her spirit seemingly tattered. However, unlike the previous victims, she did not succumb to the vacant days. Instead, she confronted Reverend Macklin, raising allegations of his wicked deeds. An immediate hush fell over the town as Amelia's accusations echoed within the church's ancient walls. The Reverend merely cast a chilling grin, vanishing into the church cellar before anyone could react. The congregation waited in trepidation, half expecting the wrath of the sacrilegious leader. But as minutes turned into hours and the Reverend failed to surface, an unnerving dread replaced anticipation. Finally, after what seemed an eternity, a trembling acolyte mustered the courage to descend the ominous stairs. What he found was a sight so ghastly it would scar him for life, the once imposing figure of Reverend Macklin reduced to a lifeless heap, his icy blue eyes stripped of their deceptive tranquility. In the unnatural silence that ensued, Amelia, no longer a victim, stood defiantly. With a voice much too calm, she announced, "The dreams woven from the Unseen Sacrament are now free." A chilling wind swept across the silent church, and as her words echoed in the eerie quiet, Freiberg was left to contemplate the reality of an unseen horror living amongst them. That night, they slept with the dread that perhaps they were not safe, never really were, from the undercurrents of evil that coiled around each corner of their sleepy town. Number 3. Shadows under the blood-soaked altar. The lonesome town of Spear's End, nestled deep in the heartland of the country, hosted a worrying secret, a secret told in hushed gasps and terrified glances. At the edge of the town, far from meddling eyes, an ancient church sat, casting a dark shadow upon the neighboring woods. Its towering steeple pierced the heavens, and its cold stone face symbolized an austere past. It was here in the cryptic church that a cult calling themselves the Crimson Altar carved their path of terror. As the sun dipped beyond the horizon and darkness kissed the world, the members of the Crimson Altar would gather. The faint murmur of their chants could be heard, accompanied by an eerie orchestra of the wind whistling through the skeletal trees. The glow of burning torches painted the night red as the congregation convened under the blood-soaked altar, their faces masked by crimson hoods, their identities hidden behind a veil of shared terror. They would stand in a semicircle, their heads bowed low, whispering incantations that echoed within the altar's stone walls. The air became heavy, tainted by some unseen dread. The flickering flames reflected in the dark crimson stains that blotched the altar, eternal proof of their horrific rituals. Deep within the congregation was a newcomer named Thomas, a simple man of strong faith. He had attended in an attempt to connect with the community, but soon found himself entwined in a grim tapestry of darkness. His heart pounded in his chest as a cold surrender enveloped him, his gaze flickering between the blood-streaked altar and the chanting assembly. His senses were engulfed in the macabre tableau, the chilling whispers sounding like a death knell in his ears. Just as the dreadful ritual seemed to reach its peak, a small hatch on the floor creaked open, and out emerged a child. The tiny figure glided eerily towards the altar, their frail form near invisible beneath a long crimson robe. The sight of the child under the church's forbidding vault and the ceremony's abrupt horror sent a cold shiver running down Thomas's spine. It was in that moment that realization dawned upon him. He wasn't part of a community group. He was in the grips of a devious cult. As the climax of the ritual approached, the child extended frail little hands towards the altar, smeared in fresh scarlet. The congregation gasped in unison, their whispers swelling to a crescendo. Thomas looked on in mounting terror as the child, standing innocently beneath the blood-soaked altar, turned towards him. In the young, faceless figure stood an embodiment of everything terrible about the crimson altar. The child slowly pulled back the hood to reveal a visage so frightful that it rendered Thomas motionless. Its face was ethereal yet distorted, like a twisted mask of terror starring with soul-piercing eyes. The visage then mouthed a silent scream, making the air grow colder, as if to signify an end, a terrifying signature on the throbbing canvas of dread. It was far from the connection Thomas had sought, and he knew then he was lost within a labyrinth of terror, far from any path of salvation. There you have it, 3 spine-chilling tales of cults, from the cloak-draped figures of the child harvest, the eerie mysteries of the Unseen Sacrament, to the spine-tingling scenes beneath the blood-soaked altar. Remember, these are just stories, but they do remind us of the darkness that can lurk where we least expect it. If you enjoyed these terrifying horror stories, do hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more. Sleep tight, and until our paths cross again, thank you for watching.